Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, that is MaaofAllblogs, and today on Khul Ke Bolo with Maa, we have not one but three people with us, and what we're going to talk is very relevant to today's times. So the topic that we're going to talk about is bridging the gap between agencies, brands and content creators. Welcome with me Ritcha, who's the content creator for Rich Style. She has over 10 years of experience as a blogger and a content creator. She uses her corporate communication experience to create content for herself or brands. Then we have Manasi Narasiman, who has over 18 years of experience. She's the Vice President and Marketing and Communication Head for Mastercard. And we have Kruti, who's the head of Vivaa Consulting, a marketing communication agency. So guys, welcome to Khul Ke Bolo with Maa.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. So guys, we've seen a lot of change in emerging trends, and earlier where we were blogging just for passion and for creating content for the love of it. Now we see we are getting paid for it, and there's a lot of investment from the brand, and then we have agencies who bridge the gap between the brand and the influencers. And we see that whole trend emerging, right? And if I actually look abroad and I see here, I see a lot of that trend coming in, where influencers actually are able to change a lot of concepts for people and actually create influence on people in terms of their buying patterns. So what do you think, Mansi, as a brand head, marketing head, what do you think is the role of influencers, and why do brands need influencers?
So I think, Prerna, you're absolutely right when you say that trends are changing. Brands increasingly are using influencers and content creators in various forms. And I think the reason, or one of the main reasons, is that the consumer today is bombarded with information. There are studies that say that the average consumer in India is exposed to 5,000 ad messages every single day. So if you as a brand or as a marketer have to cut through that clutter, you have to have somebody who's believable and credible. And that's where the role of an influencer or a content creator comes in. So yes, that trend is there and it's growing very, very rapidly, especially in certain categories.
So you don't feel that an ad or a celebrity doing it or maybe like a print ad or a television ad works better than an influencer?
So I don't think it's an either or. I definitely think in a country like India there is tremendous scope for both. It depends on the brand, the target audience. There are brands, especially mass brands, where you have to go mass media. And TV is by no means dead in India, but for a lot of affluent brands, for categories like travel, beauty, health, lifestyle, home decor, parenting, I think these are what they call in marketing terms very high involvement categories, which means people spend a lot of time in the thought process before buying. Automobiles is another one. And this is where I think credible influencers who can really bring their expertise and talk about it to consumers make a huge difference.
Absolutely. So that is why we need influencers. And Kruti, you handle influencers and content creators every second day, and you're the one who actually would be creating a list and giving it to the brands where the brands finally select. So what I want to know is that what are the evaluation, how do you evaluate that an influencer is good enough for a particular brand, and is it based on engagement, number of followers, is it any other metric that you follow, and how do you do that?
That's a great question, first of all, Prerna, because I think it's very relevant as well in today's times. Like with everything else in life, everyone has a different measure of how they view things and how they want to do things. So I can't speak for the industry in general. That would be very presumptuous of me. But what I can say is what we look at Vivaa Consulting. See, as an agency, we believe that we are the brand custodians, which means we are the gatekeepers for the brand. It is our responsibility to ensure that we are connecting them to the right kind of content creators, and the kind of content creators who will actually create an impact for the brand at the ground level. If it is not creating impact, there is no point of engaging with any content creator today. Right?
But how will you measure the impact? So, for example, there is a campaign that is created and
Right.
it gets a certain number of likes
Right.
or views
Right.
and reach and everything.
Yeah.
But even after getting that, you don't actually end up selling or actually creating any, direct sales, right? So
Right.
then how do you do that?
So I'll over here, I think the expertise comes from putting our ears on the ground and actually listening to what is happening. A lot of times, what happens is there are these cookie cutter lists made, and there are these templated lists made, which don't serve the brand well, and it's not fair to the brand to be using those lists. What I think agencies need to start doing as a best practice is definitely looking at content creators individually, not only looking at the kind of followers they have, because I think that is a very poor measure. There are a lot of bot followers that happen, and I'm sure you're aware of that in the industry. Yeah, but what we should be looking at is the background and the history of the kind of content that has been created. How honest it is, how integral is it? What is the kind of expertise that the content creator is bringing to the table? Why, and also while looking at engagement, don't just look at the percentage of engagement.
Right.
Look at the kind of questions being asked. Good morning, sunshine on their comments is not going to help anyone, right? Nor is good night, blue moon. It's a vanity factor. Engagement numbers don't reveal the truth about what the content creator is enjoying in terms of influence or direct influence that we are creating for anybody or including themselves. So to do justice to the brand, it is important that the evaluation is more qualitative, it is more perceptive, and one has to be very discerning about the kind of content creators that we recommend to brands, because at the end of the day, we are bridging that gap, and there is a sense of responsibility that must be attached to it.
Okay. And I think that kind of answers what Curly Mom Chronicles has asked, that do PR agencies always consider follow count more than content?
And like I said, qualitative analysis trumps any kind of numbers any single day. Because you may have a few followers, but if they are authentic followers, I trust you me, I have seen numbers in sales shoot up immediately after a content creator has put some piece of content out there, and I've also seen no impact at all. So it depends on the quality of followers, it depends on the kind of fact finding we are doing. So it's a very, very responsible position. We must treat the content creators with a lot of respect and trust, and as must be with the brand that we're working
So
with.
I have a question for you as a brand person. Now she's saying that the agencies need to figure out that what is the kind of content they are creating and an impact. But I've seen a lot of times, in fact I've heard this feedback from agencies as well, that we put out a list, but the brand doesn't select because they want certain number of likes or followers, and you have to make that cutoff after which only they consider. How does that work?
Well, unfortunately, that is the truth, and I think it does vary from organization to organization.
Yeah.
But I do believe going purely by numbers is a very lazy approach. And the good thing with, I think, the whole space of influencer marketing or content creation is it's always possible to experiment. And I would always encourage, and that's definitely what we do at Mastercard, pick people who have authentic content and see how it goes. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen is your measures won't move up.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I've seen in my career that there tends to be a huge upside. Okay, so I'm not saying numbers are irrelevant, but I think treat them with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Yeah,
Because numbers can often hide more than what they actually reveal.
Also, I feel that when brands, create campaigns, I feel you all have maybe a different purpose for every campaign,
Absolutely.
right? Sometimes you want a certain reach, so you might go with the ones with, higher numbers.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes you want really great quality content which you want to reuse, so you might go with very special content creators. So I think it's also about the purpose they're looking at serving.
Absolutely.
So I think that's how also the selection matters. Is how I look at it.
And also, I feel over here the role of the agency that is partnering with the brand comes into play as well. I think, if we are going to be yes men, I don't think you serve anybody well.
Absolutely.
Partnering with a brand means being able to say, no, this is not the right way to go. And being brave enough to own why you're recommending something.
Yeah.
In the same breath, we should also be partnering towards the content creators, because at the end of the day, they come with their own vision, their own subject, their own perception of how they want to create the content, and bridging and marrying that gap successfully is what creates great content that delivers the impact that a brand desires. At the end of the day, everybody wins that way. If you're not doing that, then, why are you... I mean, we're not brokers. We're consultants. I mean, we should start acting like that.
Yeah. Okay. Pooja Kochar asks, what would a brand trust more, authentic content or popular content?
So I would say, in general, always go for authenticity, because the greatest damage to brand reputation, and brand reputation is such a fragile thing, is anything that's inauthentic. And trust me, when David Ogilvy said the customer's not a fool, she's your wife, people can smell inauthenticity a mile away.
Oh, of course.
And therefore, I think it's very important to go authentic. It may take you a little while to get to the desired reach or impact, but long term, that's absolutely the right thing to do for the brand.
Absolutely. And I have one more point to add over here. There is a huge temptation to go with the tide of the trend.
Right.
However, if a brand is not true to their core values, in the interest of going with the tide of the trend, they lose more than they win. Because your core values may not match with that trend. And it's okay to sit one out. But it's definitely not okay to abandon your core values in order to be popular.
You're speaking on behalf of brand, basically.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, I totally agree. And I think sometimes have the temptation to either be funny because they believe that, that will get them the desired reach. But if your natural tone is of a slightly more serious or a more mature brand, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot by pretending to be someone you're not. I mean, it's no different from real life, right? If you're normally an introverted person and you suddenly start acting like the life of the party, people are going to wonder what you've been smoking.
And people can see through.
People can absolutely see through. And I think the greatest disservice that brands do, or all of us do as an industry, is to believe that you can fool the consumer or hoodwink the consumer. You can never get away with it.
Yeah.